Welcome everybody to Creating Characters with Artistic Tools, a collaboration between Milena of Octagon Creative Exploration and Bajoy, the director of ACT, or the Avilions Cameo Theater. Joining them on stage is Kat, Associate Director of ACT, who participated in the videos you will be watching later on the screen opposite the stage. The Octagon and ACT groups are represented by the top two images on the poster behind Marley and Bajoy. Both of them will be speaking about their individual groups shortly, but I will start by briefly mentioning the group that hosts the Octagon, Whole Brain Health on Inspiration Island. Whole Brain Health was founded by Layne, or Wisdom Seeker, who is in the audience today. The group hosts many programs that are designed to stimulate and challenge your brain. Our approach is based on current research into lifestyle changes that keep your brain growing. I am an estate manager for Inspiration Island, along with Associate Director Tuya Hines, or Tuya. I also serve as the Media Director. If you look at the bottom left of the poster behind Marley and Bajoy, you'll see a photo that includes many members of our Whole Brain Health Collective. At the bottom right of the poster is a picture of the climate change platform on Inspiration Island, where Marley facilitates periodic programs on the subject. We are planning a program for Earth Day on April the 22nd, though the details of that are still being worked out. Okay, when you're asked to watch the videos later, you'll need to make sure your media is enabled and then click on the screen to start the video playing. If you do run into problems seeing the video in World, then we'll also post the URL so that you can view it directly in your browser. And please feel free to jot down notes or questions as you watch each film. With all of that said, I will now turn the program over to Marley.
Thank you, thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to see you here. I'm Marley Milena, known as Neela Miller in physical life, and I'm the founder of a group here in Second Life called Octagon Creative Exploration. By the way, over to my left, that little rainbow thing is a group joiner if you'd like to get future announcements about programs we're doing. We do all sorts of programs which feature combinations of arts processes, humanistic psychology, and education, using the building technology here in symbolic and metaphorical ways. More about that later.
Yes, it is great to have you all here today. And my name is Bajoy, also known as Barbara Swords, and I'm the artistic director of ACT, the Avilion Cameo Theater, based in Avilion. This theater company was founded in 2015, and since then has developed regular productions and run workshops on the various aspects of theater production in a digital environment.
Legacy. The theme of this conference suggests that we want to contribute and leave behind that which can enrich the lives of others and highlight that for which we will be remembered. In Second Life, for us, that means using older technology in original and creative ways. I enjoy collaborating with others like Bajoy in Second Life, where we have an overlap of interests, but can each bring something unique to the experiences we offer. Today, we're going to demonstrate one way we've been experimenting in working together to combine symbolic modeling, or SymMod as I refer to it, and theater. This is a work in progress. Bajoy invited 3 of her actors to participate, but unfortunately we were scheduled at a time 2 of them couldn't be here, so we improvised. We've made 2 videos for you to watch. The first film is about 10 minutes long and is directed by me. The second one is about 22 minutes and is directed by Bajoy. At my sim, Inspiration Island, there are many people doing exciting projects related to physical and mental health, creativity, learning, and social interaction. I have a gallery at the Octagon where I do workshops and other activities. And as Fran mentioned, the climate change platform for exploring different aspects of this sticky wicket. If you'd like to see an example of applying SymMod to complex subject matter, please come to that climate change workshop we're doing as part of Earth Day, co-sponsored by Utopia on April 22nd. For now, here's what you need to know about symbolic modeling. SymMods are structures that are created from the building prims in Second Life or from other artistic tools like using a drawing board that you see here. They can be made according to the skill level of the builder. Even the simplest forms work to provide shifts in perspective, insights, changes in problem solving, and other possibilities. Tools I use here in Second Life or virtual environments can include building blocks, drawings, poems, songs, movement, photographs, just about any art process. Content can vary, exploration of ideas to values, feeling states, decision processes, or innovative theories. I also use models from humanistic psychology, especially Gestalt and Jungian process work. It's based on lateral and metaphorical thinking. It engages intuition, makes use of body signals, and experimentation. Lateral thinking is solving problems through an indirect and creative approach, using reasoning that's not immediately obvious, and involving ideas that may not be obtainable by using only traditional step-by-step logic. And the term was coined in 1967 by Edward de Bono. If you clicked on that red mushroom, you'll see other attributions in there. The processes I use vary with the situation or with whom I'm working. The one we're using today is referred to as an inside-out, focusing on feeling, issue, or idea, and creating a SymMod to represent it, describing yourself as it, and making associations. So inside out, you start with what's happening internally, and then you create a model to represent it. The other way I work sometimes is outside in, and that's what I did on that drawing board. I just created something and then discovered what it meant to me by becoming each part of what I created, speaking for it in the first person, and integrating these messages or insights or new perspectives. Later on, you can take a closer look at how I describe this process underneath the drawing. The first part is actually becoming parts of the drawing and describing myself. The second part is gaining perspective or interpreting what it is I've described. And then we do role-playing and dialogue, where we could set up two or more aspects of an issue or an idea or challenge or feeling state and have them do some dialoguing with each other. The objects then speak to each other with you, the avatar or the person at the computer, as the objective witness of what it is that's coming out of these objects as you become them. I'm going to do a little demonstration here of an inside-out procedure with building tools, because you won't see this. Because in the film we asked the actors to make their builds before we made the film, because it would have taken too much time otherwise. So when you look at the films, the builds will already be there. But I wanted to show you kind of how it works from scratch. So I'm just going to do a little demo. And I'm going to choose a state of being that's different from the three that the actors chose in the films. And that's going to be curiosity. It's something that we're all familiar with as teachers, as learners, as people in this world. So I go to my build program. Let's see. I pull something out. This is a torus. I don't know how many of you are completely new to Second Life, but you've got a bunch of geometric shapes that you can play with or work with. Okay, I'm making a doorway here, apparently. See, the thing is, and the comments that I'm going to make now are extemporaneous. They're not part of the rolling script, so talk with you about what I'm doing. I'm making a doorway. That seems clear. I'm blanking out the wooden texture. I'm going to give it a color. I'm exploring curiosity. So somehow being a doorway leads me from where I am to someplace maybe that I haven't been. So on the other side of this doorway, I'm going to put down some kind of a world. I'm going to make it somewhat transparent so that I can see into it. Because something about being curious means I need to be able to explore in a place where I can find things. Okay, so this is my world that I want to explore, and I need to put it someplace that I can reach into when the time comes. And then I'm going to create something that reaches. Now, I'm doing a very simple kind of building here. Some people here are much more sophisticated about building than I am. I mean, I've been here 10 years, but I'm not essentially a builder. I'm a creator of programs. So Fran helps me with a lot of the stuff I do. But anyway, here's something that's going to be able to take me from the place that I am to someplace new. I'm going to stretch this more. I'm going to stretch that end of it so it goes right into that world. Okay, so now I'm checking with my body barometer at home, and I'm asking, does this feel right as a way to express my curiosity? Yeah, but I need to make this path some other kind of color. Yeah. So usually when I'm working with people on these things, I ask them to stay in touch with their body at home at the computer, because that is a barometer or gives you information for when your symbolic model feels like the right thing for you. All right, now my body's saying, yeah, you're almost there, babe. You just got to bring me in a little bit more. Now I've got these three elements, but of course, that's good enough. I'm not going to take more time with this, but I wanted you to get an idea of what happens with people when they actually try to make these models. Now, the next part of this would be my becoming different parts. Curiosity. I'm your doorway, and I'm inviting you to come from the things you already know to explore things that you haven't discovered yet. So that's the doorway part. And I've got a particular color because I'm a doorway of wisdom and knowledge, that when you allow yourself to explore this way, you'll get in touch with this wise part. Then I'm the bright red pointer. I'm pointing the way for you, Marley. If you just follow me through the door, see where I lead. I'm going to take you to a place you haven't been before. Oh, and I know another thing that I need to do. My body's telling me, you've got to make me phantom so you can come inside me, not just stand on the outside. Because on the inside, I have a different experience. I'm now surrounded by the unknown. And if I had more time, I'd probably put a lot of different little things in here, which would all represent different pieces of what I might discover. So this is then my symbolic model, my symmod of my curiosity. Okay, so you get the idea, I hope. Okay, so you get a sense of the process of being able to create something symbolic that helps you think in a different way about something that you're investigating. All right? So now I'm going to take that away. Someone said that it sounds like the ravings of a schizophrenic. I hope that that's not the way it appears to other people. It is metaphorical thinking, so if it's a way of thinking that you're not used to, it might seem a little strange. But for me, it's a very natural way of thinking. And what I've discovered is that by doing symbolic modeling and helping other people do it, they get perspectives that they'd never get by thinking or talking alone. So now we're going on. So you're going to be watching 2 films with questions in between. See what you can discern from watching this process. Because we'll have a YouTube, you can go back later and watch it again. And we'll be interested to see what ideas you get about working in virtual educational or training situations using these models. I've asked the actors to each choose a feeling state and create a sim mod which represents that state. We've created a setting, a classroom, where their objects become characters. And they could also experiment with all kinds of settings, a doctor's waiting room, an educational setting, a market, and so on. And I guide them in the process of embodying their character and describing themselves. This provides a type of perspective which would not happen if we were working with their avatars alone. They set up the situation. Each of them reacts to it from their own character, and they work toward some kind of resolution, either alone or together. Okay, Fran?
Please watch the first video on the media screen, just opposite the stage. Make sure your media is enabled and click the screen twice, and then you should see a play button towards the bottom of the screen. If you can click on that to actually start the video playing. The video is about 10 minutes long. Once you've finished watching it, please turn off your media and type down in local chat. If you have a problem being able to see the video properly on the screen, you can also watch this video at the address that I've put into chat, and also go back to it later if you want to watch the process again. After both films have been shown and director's questions have been asked, we will make time for general questions from the audience. Okay, so please watch the video either on the screen or in your browser, and let us know when you're done. This film is part 1 of a demonstration of an exploratory collaboration in Second Life between Milena, the founder of Octagon Creative Exploration, and Bajoy, director of Avilion Cameo Theater. Marley uses the available building technology in Second Life to offer a tool she calls symbolic modeling, or SymMod. It can be used for a variety of educational, psychological, and expressive purposes. The actors have chosen 3 different feeling states and made SymMods to represent them. They are using them for the purpose of character exploration and improvisation. Marley will demonstrate how she assists the players to get into their characters. Then they will improvise a scene from that feeling state. Once you have watched the film, please indicate done in local chat, and she will then ask some questions, both of the actors and the audience. Educators, as you watch, think about how you might use this approach for virtual education projects.
Actors, please put out your sim mods, and I want you to tell us what feeling state each of these sim mods represents using the first person and becoming your object. Give it a voice to describe yourself and your experience.
I am confused. I'm not sure I'm in the right place. I'm unsure about what I'm supposed to be doing at this particular moment. My thoughts are jumbled, and I'm unable to react.
Thank you. Pipit, go ahead.
I am happy. I glow with happiness, and I'm transparent, so all of my glowing colors meld together into one big color. On the inside, though, I have some flowers that represent that I do have depth and a heart, and that there's more to me than what you see on just the outside.
Thank you. Layne?
I am angry, but I am outwardly calm, even non-reflective, but on the inside, the anger is just growing and growing and more intense, and it's throwing me off center just a bit.
Okay. So this is an exploration of yourself as that symbol, and now you're going to bring those feeling states into an improvisation situation. And so let me ask, where are you and what's transpiring?
This situation scenario is first day back at high school after the summer vacation, and this is the first class of the first day.
Please react from each of your Simod's feeling states, and then indicate when you've completed the scene.
Oh, I am so happy to be back at school. I have missed all my friends. I can't wait to see everybody. I got a new dress. I have new shoes. I can't wait for everybody to come and look at me. I can't wait to see Chuck. I wonder if he's grown a mustache over the summer. Oh my gosh.
Would you just settle down? I mean, who can be that happy? I mean, get real.
Excuse me, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be here or not. Is this the right class?
Sure, come in.
None of us are supposed to be here.
This is a great day. I am just so excited. And who are you?
My name is Kat, but are you sure this is the right class? Can you help me out here? I'm not sure I'm supposed to be here. What am I
Well,
supposed to
just
be
tell me what class you're supposed to be in.
I'm supposed to be in English 101. But
Oh, that's it. This is it.
Good grief.
Ha
You don't know where you're supposed to be.
He's just
Didn't
mad
you get
because
a
he
schedule?
failed the class last time.
Well,
Right.
what are we supposed to...
Good teacher.
So, well, what are we supposed to be doing anyway? Do you know what this is about? I don't know.
Yeah, it's English 101, and I've been here for 3 semesters already, and good grief, I hope we've got a different teacher this time. The other 2 were just ridiculous.
Well, maybe if you would come to class once in a while, you wouldn't be failing.
Yeah, right. This is 101. This is easy. This is who needs to come to class.
Apparently you do.
So what do you think we should be doing right now? I just don't know.
It's okay, Kat. Just take a seat and get out your pencil. That's it. We're done.
That's the end of this scenario.
Let me ask you, actors, how did the Simmods contribute to the experience of improvisation, if at all?
I'll go first. As you can see from my sim mod, the shapes and colors used, as well as the fact that each shape is disconnected from the others, to me, it represents a state of confusion. Everything is scattered about, nothing is connected, perhaps even unsure about what piece should be where. And it helped me, when I look at it visually, when I stand next to it, to feel that sense of confusion and being torn and unaware or not knowing about what I should be doing or saying it at a time.
Thank you.
I felt exactly the same way about mine. I could look at it and it would make me feel happy just to look at it. It would help me it would draw me back to my happy state, helped remind me to stay cheerful in the face of anger and confusion.
Okay.
For me, what it helped do was organize the, I guess, layers, for lack of a better word, but the exterior and the interior, at least, to separate the 2 things going on.
I think really if I were to sum it up, I would say that having the sim mod, having the process of building it, thinking about that emotional state that we're attempting to represent, then when it's complete, it is that solid visual reminder to us about what emotion we're supposed to be conveying at that point in time.
Yep, that's perfect, Kat.
Now, let me just say, too, that if we were going to go on and develop this more, one thing I would have you do would be to think about how elements of the other people's sim mods could contribute to the holistic representation of the experience, so that you come out of a monolithic place into a more global place of, oh yeah, well, I'm angry, but I'm also a little confused, and there's a little part of me that also gets excited about hearing certain poems, whatever it is. So that I'm saying to the audience is part of this work when it's extended, is working with a field awareness, a global awareness of how we are all parts of each other. And you will see this in part 2 when the actors switch places and play different emotional states, that comes through in that way. For now, we're going to end the scene, and I want to thank you very much. Okay, can I assume that everyone's finished watching that first film, and you probably have an even better idea of what symbolic modeling processes are about? So here's some questions for you, and I'd like you to just type your responses in the chat bar. You don't have to feel obligated, but it certainly would be interesting, because I like to be interactive with my audience. Of the 3 feeling states each sim mod represented, which character did you identify with the most, and why? Or what was there about it? You can even imagine, if some of you are educators, like an actual situation like this of students entering into a classroom and their different states of being.
Marley has asked me to actually read out the responses. So I'm getting a response now. Right now, the first one, because I'm new here, the last one. So relating it to one's own experience. Another response, Pipit, the happy one, because it's my standard point of view and something I naturally fall into.
Some of you may even have felt a combination of those, as I spoke about it toward the end of the film. Any other responses? Well, the second question is, if you'd been in the skit, how might your sim mod have been different for representing that feeling state? Because everybody who does this has a very individual way of approaching it. Just like if I'd asked other people to come in and represent curiosity in the center with me, we would have had as many different bills as there were people.
Yes, and we just got a response to the last one again, Mary, that said a combination. Yeah. They had a combination.
And then Liz said, I like the layers the angry one wanted to represent. Okay, so I'm asking you to picture, if you were going to make a symbolic representation of any of those 3 feeling states, how might it have varied? Or what colors would you have used? Or would it have been larger or smaller? Or, what might some variations have been for you? Because I want you to be able to imagine doing this both as an instructor and with students.
Yes, here comes a response. I'd have made a sphere for a cat body with 2 triangles for ears and a line for a tail and colored it purple, because purple cats make me happy.
Great.
And here's another one. Happy could be like an aura around the person, but also colorful like rainbow colors.
Mm-hmm. Do you have ideas for how you might have symbolized anger? I remember once working with someone who made a huge red jagged thing that stuck way up in the air for anger that she was very afraid of, and then she made a cave to go into to feel safe. It was very interesting.
Yes, here's another one that's similar.
Yeah.
Big, big
well,
red jagged lines and pointy things for anger.
Fidget, we were thinking just right along the same lines there. Yes, that's what this other person's one was like. Red jagged lines. Okay, so my last question to you, well, my next to last question, what ideas does this give you about using this approach in a learning situation? And give an example, if you can, of a possible application. This is probably the most important question, particularly for the educators here.
Yes, and one last response to the last one about anger is adding a script to it so you can actually have steam coming out of the anger.
Great. Good idea. Can you imagine, it's not just feeling states, it's ideas. If you wanted to see how students conceived of certain ideas that you were discussing in science or history, this is a wonderful tool for doing that.
Yes, and there's another idea here, Marley, about choosing color to communicate, that you had students and you create story bowls and you paint them to represent the narratives.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's another good idea.
Okay, so we're going to, we'll wait till later, until after you've watched the second film, to explore this further, because you may have ideas that come to you during the duration of this session that you can share later on. Let me just check before we actually go on to the second film. Also, Bajoy has some introductory remarks that she wants to say, but Otinho has another contribution.
Yes, there are a couple contributions. Fidget has said, I use it by asking the folks I deal with as an advocate to represent what they hope for in whatever sense moves them. For example, smell, color, shapes, and text. And then the second idea, Martino, maybe asking students to choose the shape they like most, and then they can see what they have in common with other students as an icebreaker.
That could also work as an outside-in process where they're not sure what their shape means yet, but they're using it as a way of building bridges. Interesting. Okay. Thank you for your wonderful contributions. I'm sure that later, after the second film, there'll be more for people to say. For right now, Bajoy, why don't you introduce the second one? Second film.
Thank you, Marley. So before we watch the second film, I'd like to briefly describe what it's like to act in a play in a virtual environment. In some ways, it's similar to a real-life theater production. If you were to come to an act play, you would see actors performing on a stage with movement and voice. But in one important way at least, the theatrical experience for the actor is quite different in a virtual world. In effect, the actor, avatar, is akin to a puppet being manipulated by a puppeteer, the off-screen operator. The best acting performances on a virtual stage are those where the operator behind the screen can infuse life into the avatar on the screen. In theatrical terms, this is called embodiment. To achieve embodiment, the operator must be able to feel the emotions and motivations that a real-life actor would, so as to know which animations to choose and how to use voice effectively to portray their characters, whether the sound is live or whether it is recorded. As a theater director, I'm always looking for techniques, such as the ones demonstrated by Marley, to help achieve this state of embodiment. The film you will see now shows how we use the ideas of symbolic modeling, SYMBOLIC, as a springboard for exploring the inner feelings and motivations of three well-known characters from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Romeo, Juliet, and her old nurse, her confidante. If it has been a while since you read or viewed this play, let me remind you that it is a story about two lovers, Romeo and Juliet, from two different families who are forbidden to marry. They devise a plan to elope, but as you know, everything goes wrong. The ending is tragic, with the death of both lovers. I quote, this is from the ending of the play, "For never was there a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo." We will focus our character development on Act 2, Scene 2, a scene in which Romeo risks death to meet Juliet again, climbs to her balcony, and promises to arrange a secret marriage and let Juliet's messenger, her old nurse, have the details the next morning. The techniques you will see in this film include, first, creating a sim mod to represent the essence or the inner nature of a character. 2, showing the relationship of this character to others in a scene. 3, working with the character's emotions in relation to situations in scenes. And 4th, hot seating, putting one of the characters on a spot, and role-playing with the focus on emotional states. I want to give a big thank you to our actors in the film, and in the first film too, Pipit, Kat, and Layne, for their help with this presentation. And so now we'll watch the film and talk about it after. Thank you. Over to you, Fran.
All right, same thing for this one. I will put the URL into chat. You can view it on your browser, or you can click the screen. Do the same thing as last time. When you're done, this film is 22 minutes long, so when it's done, please indicate somehow that you are done. Thank you. In this film, Bajoy, artistic director for the Avilion Cameo Theater in Second Life, discusses possible theatrical uses for the sim mod, as previously described by Marley, while again using the actors from the first film and scenes from Romeo and Juliet.
This film applies the sim mod technique to the development of characters in a play. Actors will demonstrate several different positions and approaches. The first shows how the sim mod can be used in exploring the essence of a character. That means his or her underlying nature. The characters chosen for this demonstration are Romeo, Juliet, and Juliet's nurse from Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet. For our first demonstration, our actors have created sim mods that they think capture the essence of their characters, or the self of the character. Each of them now will share with you what they believe the essence of their character is with reference to the sim mod. Juliet will be first, then her nurse, then Romeo. Juliet, please.
I am Juliet. I am a satin object that glows with my youth. I am divided between my love for Romeo and the love for my nurse, and I show my division by this top sphere of my essence being divided, and you can see inside.
Now her nurse.
I am Juliet's nurse. As her nurse, I've raised her from a baby, been her primary caregiver, and I'm passionate about her well-being. I have strong maternal feelings for her, as symbolized by the red heart-like shape in my middle. The blue color of the symbol stands for loyalty, As you can see, it's a very dark blue, symbolizing the depth of my loyalty to both Juliet and her family.
And now, Romeo.
I am Romeo. I've recently suffered serious rejection in love and have come from a deep darkness, it's represented by the purple here, to the extreme highs of a new love and infatuation with Juliet, symbolized by the yellow. These relationships have caused some wedges to be driven in between me and my family and my friends, and has kind of split how I feel about things in general.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to a demonstration of another kind, and this involves focusing on the self of the characters in relation to others. This involves moving the sim mods to show their relationship to each of the other characters within a scene. The scene is Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet, or the balcony scene as you may know it. I'm going to be indicating different parts of the scene while the actors move their sim mods to show what they think the relationships are at each point. They will explain to you their reasoning for each move. Now, I'll read the scene and we'll see what happens with the sim mods. The first scene is Juliet on the balcony. She declares her love for Romeo and is overheard by him in the garden. Here are the lines. O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or, if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. Could you please show the relationship of the characters at this point using your sim mods? Move them now, please. I'm going to ask the characters now to explain their emotional states, their feelings, and their distance, why they have moved their sim mods closer or further away. Let's start with you, Juliet.
I have moved between my nurse and Romeo, but I'm still closer to my nurse because I know that she loves me. I have longing for Romeo, so I have moved closer to him, but I don't know what his feelings are for me exactly. So I stay close to my nurse where I know I am safe.
And what does the nurse say about her placement?
Well, I have moved closer to Juliet because I'm protective of her and very concerned for her emotional welfare right now. I know that she's still growing into maturity, so I'm unsure of her ability to cope with this situation. And I'm definitely unsure about young Romeo's intentions. So I have moved close to her should she need me.
Great. Romeo.
I'm moving closer to Juliet as I want to get closer to my new love, but I'm still a little bit reserved from recent experience and not trying to get too close too quickly.
Fine. Now we're going to move on to another part of the scene. This is where Romeo actually scales the balcony and becomes known to Juliet as a Montague of the rival family. Juliet says, "Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?" And Romeo responds, "Neither, fair maid, if either thee dislike." Could you please move your sim mods now to show the relationship between the characters? And we're talking here about psychological relationship. Juliet, could you please explain? Are we all set?
I have moved closer to Romeo, but he's a little bit too close to me, so I want to be behind my nurse now that I know that he is of a rival family. Since I am young, I'm afraid of him a little bit, and his passion for me. I'm still curious, but I'm still hiding behind my nurse.
Great. Now what does the nurse have to say about this?
Well, I've moved between Romeo and Juliet because my level of concern is rising. I'm now aware that Juliet seems flattered by this young man's attentions, but I feel she may not be able to respond appropriately. I'm also keenly aware of her family's plans for her regarding marriage. I remain loyal to both her and her family, and so I stand ready to intervene if necessary.
Romeo.
I'm definitely getting closer to Juliet and disregarding more and more of the hesitation that I felt earlier. Unfortunately, this also brings me closer to the nurse. In this case, that's really not relevant to the situation. It's only Juliet that's on my mind.
Fine. All right, one last section. This is the section of the play where the nurse interrupts Romeo and Juliet on the balcony by calling from within. So, show the relationship now of the characters psychologically. Okay, Juliet.
I am very close to Romeo now and am ready to go forward with our relationship, so I've moved extremely close to him.
The nurse?
I have moved apart from Juliet and Romeo despite seeing them getting close together. And that's because I have recognized that I must trust my teachings and Juliet's learning and her ability to handle this situation. However, I'm still fairly close to both of them so that I can see what's happening, hear what's happening, and still stand ready to intervene if necessary.
And Romeo.
I am still close to my new love and throwing all caution to the wind, staying right here.
Could I just reinforce then what we were trying to achieve with this exercise? We're looking at basically the sim mods, and we're applying a general idea of the sociogram to it, that being a visualization of a relationship in order to explore the characters of Romeo, Juliet, and the nurse in more depth. So now we're going to turn to our third demonstration, and this involves bringing in the sim mods that you saw earlier for the emotional states. So I'm going to ask our actors to now remove these sim mods and bring in their emotional sim mods that they created earlier. So we'll let them get set up for a minute while I explain what we're going to do now. If you remember from watching the earlier film, we had 3 emotional states: anger, happiness, and confusion. Now what we're going to be doing in this section is taking the end of Act 2, Scene 2, where the nurse is persistently calling, daylight is breaking, Romeo must leave or be discovered. He leaves, promising to send word as he climbs down the balcony. So that is our situation. And we're going to use the sim mods now to explore each of the characters' emotional states at this point in the play. So Romeo will be expressing anger, Juliet, happiness, and the nurse, confusion. They're going to be expressing these emotions in the first person with feeling. So we'll start with Juliet.
I am so happy. I am young. I am beautiful. I'm at the prime of my life. I'm in love. Everything around me is glowing. I feel joyful and filled with hope and happiness and excitement.
And the nurse?
I am so confused right now. And this is demonstrated by the various shapes and colors of the sim mod and the fact that nothing is connected. I'm confused because I'm torn between my duty and my desire to protect Juliet from anything that might harm her, and the realization that she is maturing into a young woman, becoming capable of making decisions for herself. And so I'm very confused about what actions, if any, I should take at this point.
And could you share with us how that's reflected in your sim mod?
Yes, as I stated before, the use of various colors and shapes and the fact that they're not connected to each other demonstrates the variety of feelings I have coursing through me, a state of confusion where I just do not feel solid in my thoughts right now.
Thank you. Good. Layne, who is Romeo?
I'm fed up with this. I've had enough of it. I have to leave my love because it's morning, because we have to hide our love because of our families. This is just a ridiculous situation, and living under the cover of darkness and then despising the light that comes in a new day is just absurd.
And could you share with us how that's reflected in your sim mod?
the darkness around the outside and the anger that becomes as you get closer to the center, the hotter, the heat. It's just raw anger on the inside and trying to hide the day because I want the night because I can be with my love, Juliet.
Thank you. Now, within a play, a character doesn't always have the same emotional states throughout. And for this reason now, we are going to have the actors swap. They're going to stand behind different emotional states. And we're going to talk about the same scene, but see how having a different emotional state can give a slightly different interpretation to the character. So this time I'm going to ask Romeo, please, to stand behind happiness. Juliet comes and stands behind confusion, and the nurse behind anger. And we're going to repeat the exercise, but now we'd like to use these emotions. You've heard how the SYMBOLICs represent them already. So let's start with Juliet, please, and she's now terribly confused.
I am so confused about the feelings that I'm having towards Romeo. I don't know if I should upset my family, if I should upset my nurse. I've never felt these kinds of feelings before, so I'm not sure if what I'm feeling is correct, if this is how a young woman is supposed to feel. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do, if I'm supposed to forsake my love and carry on for my family's sake and my nurse, or follow my heart.
The nurse, who is now feeling very angry.
Yes, indeed. And I'm angry, first of all, of the position this puts me in. I value my position in Juliet's household. I value her love for me, and I am somewhat also angry at her for not seeking what I think is enough of my counsel and for potentially leaving me. I'm also angry at Romeo, this young upstart who's appeared, who seems to be trying to take Juliet away from me and possibly interfering with her family's desires.
And Romeo.
Oh, it's the dawn of a new day. Having just spent the night with my love, my new love, it's so energizing. It's so good to have this feeling again and to know that I have found my future. I've found the one I will spend the rest of my life with.
So in review, what we've done with this exercise is actually swap around the emotional states the actors have in order to gain new insight into characters in terms of a range of emotions. So we're going to do one last demonstration for you, and this one involves using a technique called hot seating. And what that actually is putting one of the characters on the spot and having the other two question them. Now, we're going to use Layne as our person in the hot seat. And so if you come out in front here for us, Layne, just you walk a bit forward. And we're going to have Kat and Pip, our actresses, come forward. And Pip is going to then, and Kat in character, as the Juliet and the nurse, question Romeo, who now, at this point, has swapped to confused. So he's in the confused state. And he'll state that, and then they'll question him from their character's point of view about his emotional state. So would you just start out with your general statement, please, Layne, as Romeo?
I don't know what's up. I don't know what's going on. I mean, 1 minute I'm at the top of the world. The next minute I am ready to just die. It's so back and forth, like extreme to extreme in an instant. And I don't know how to control that. I don't know what's happening to me.
Okay, and now the others are going to question him. So this becomes a bit of a role play. So over to you.
So what are you confused about, Romeo? Are you confused about your love for me?
No, not at all. I am confused about what that means. I am confused about what that means to my relationships, to my family, to your family, I've loathed.
Wait a minute. Who are you, you young upstart, to come in here and interfere with the family?
I'm not intending to interfere with the family. The family is interfering with me. I am here for Juliet.
And what exactly are your intentions?
My intentions are to spend the rest of my life with her.
So you're not confused about your feelings towards me, but you are confused about your feelings towards my family that I love.
Your family and my family to whom I am very loyal.
Then why conduct this relationship secretly? If you really want to make Juliet part of your life, don't you think you should go to the family?
Oh, I can see exactly where that's going to lead. There will be conflict like you won't believe. This is not going to end well. The families will not allow for it. So we have to hide that, at least and for now, until we can make our plan to escape.
Thank you so much. That gives us some good insight into how that could work. So I'm hoping that you're going to see from what we've done with the demonstration with this film, how we started out creating a sim mod that created the essence of the character and let them explore from an actress point of view that. And then we moved on to relationships and how the sim mods could be very useful in helping establish relationships among characters and show what those interactions are. And finally, then, we moved on to looking at the emotional states of the characters, and the sim mods helped us to dig more deeply there, and also to swap emotional states to give some insight into the range of emotions and emotional states that an actor might need to use within a play for their character. I'd like to thank the actors today. I'd like to thank Pip and Kat and Layne for contributing to this film. But now, before we go, I'd like to ask them to share some thoughts about the sim mod themselves and how this approach is and how effective they think it might be in a theatrical situation. So could I start with you, Pip? What have been your insights that you've gained from using the sim mod technique?
I really liked the techniques because it helped me understand my relationship in regards to the other actors. It gave me insight into how the nurse might be feeling. It gave me insight into Romeo. It took me out of my own character and out of my own head and helped me to pull their feelings in, which I think would make me a better actress if I understand how I relate to others.
Thank you. Kat?
I think understanding the state of mind of their own character role, just to pick up from what Pipit was saying, at any given moment can help an actor make the best use also of things like gestures, facial expressions if they're available, and individual positioning on the stage. And as both an actor and a director, that physical positioning on the stage convey to the audience the relationship between the characters. So if we go back, for example, to the movements between the nurse, Juliet, and Romeo in terms of positions, we saw that as the nurse got increasingly concerned, she moved closer and closer to Juliet and then in between her and Romeo. And I think using the position on the stage to convey the emotional state of the characters and their relation to each other is a very important tool.
Thank you, Kat. And now you, Layne?
I think for me, part of what this helps me do is as both of them have said, kind of get out of your own head, get out of your body. For me, having to express something that I'm thinking about verbally changes, the part of the brain that processes it, and suddenly you have a different perspective just by the act of having to explain it. It's something I use in other areas too, just to force yourself to look at something differently, and possibly even in an unusual way. And that's what these sim mods help represent, is a completely foreign, at least on first examination, a foreign way of looking at what you're talking about, what you're thinking about.
Good. Thank you all very much for your participation today. And we'd also like to thank you for being here for this presentation. Kat a question before I open up the discussion a bit more, because Kat, of course, was in both of the films, and I'm just wondering if she could share with us a little bit about what she's gained from the participation overall. Thanks, Kat.
Well, two things. Right. So in terms of my involvement with theater in Second Life, but it would also be true in real life, one thing I learned, and I think Layne hinted at that or talked about it in the last film, was this ability to actually visualize something in a different way. Building the sim mods was extremely helpful in being able to visualize different feelings, as was rotating through the feelings, because no person is experiencing just one thing, but could be experiencing a multitude of feelings at the same time. And it also helped me as an actor or as a director of theater to have, or I think it could be helpful to have actors work through their physical placement, talk out the feelings, what the character is feeling at that moment, and then putting it into play. In terms of real life, that has great value, just in terms of exploring your own feelings and thinking about them when faced with any particular situation, whether it's theater or not. I found it extremely useful. I could see it. I'm an adult educator. I can see a range of possibilities, everything from using it as a get-to-know-you exercise when you first get together, through to exploring relationships in the workplace, for example, and how people act in certain situations in the workplace.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Kat. Some excellent ideas there. I know that we're getting close to time now, and I wanted to open it up so that you would have an opportunity to express your ideas. Perhaps I could just
have a question for me? Type it in chat, because I'm not hearing voice right now.
Yes, good. That would be great. I guess I'll just pose a general question. I have several questions I could have asked, but the one I will ask is, what applications can you find for these techniques in your own situation? And I'm talking about the sim mod. So if you would like to type any responses you can think of, that would be great, so we can see the wider application of what we've talked about today. I'll just start because I'm a playwright as well, and I have found this idea really useful in trying to get to terms with the characters I'm writing in a play. So that's been very useful for me. These questions are for all of you. We could start. Kat has sort of indicated as an adult educator she found some uses. I've sort of indicated as a playwright I found some uses. How about everybody else? Any ways that you can think of using this in your own situations?
You know, this is the first time that we've done this session, and it was intended to be experimental, and we want to get your feedback and get your ideas. Kat, that was very useful what you said before about how it could be used in work situations and in other situations. And since this is an educational conference, I'm very interested in how educators can imagine using sim mods, not just for feeling states, but for the exploration of ideas, or how students think about ideas or values. I did do a program here at one point with someone who does values-based work, which is very interesting. So I would love to have you participate and put some stuff in the chat bar about just ideas that you have. They don't have to be fully formed.
Yes, we've got a few now, Marley. You're just talking about it's good to explore both in personal and theatrical times for her, both in Second Life and in the physical world. And another response from Valberian, who says it might be useful in personality workshops where we learn personality traits and how they relate to working together. And also Kat's talking about teaching conflict resolution skills. So all of those are great uses.
Yeah. We had a griefer here earlier who was very passionate about climate change, which wasn't the subject of this, but one way I use it is to have people express different attitudes along the feeling continuum about climate change. And there are many, not just I'm for it or I'm against it or I believe it or I don't. So one way these sim mods can be used is to go more into depth about any kind of complex subject and try to get as many points of view about it as possible.
Good. And Sheila's got an idea here. She's saying perhaps you could use it as a team exercise if you're working together with a group of people in Second Life to organize something, or working together as teachers, get a better idea of how you feel about the task ahead and working together. And it might surface tricky issues you would hesitate to raise directly. Yes,
Excellent.
that's a good idea.
Yes, Liz says this helps develop other points of view within oneself and between people.
Yes, and Kat's saying that it's useful for group dynamics and for teamwork and so forth.
We still have a little time, so anything else that you either want to ask about what you saw today, want to ask any of us, or any ideas that you want to keep presenting. Yes, internal conflicts. We all have these different voices inside us. I did a funny one on my feelings about doing exercise. I'm sure many of you can relate to this. The part that knows how good it is for me, the part that feels lazy, the part that only wants to do something that's fun, the part that doesn't think that doing a sufficient amount is enough. There are lots of different points of view around issues that we have internally and also out in the world, not just the dialectic of yes and no.
That seems like it might be a good point to wrap it up, Marley, and thank everybody for their great participation today. It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
I'm going to stay around because actually we have at least 15-20 minutes before the session officially ends. So if people want to come and talk with me, have ideas about collaborations or anything else, have questions, I'll be staying here for another 10 minutes at least. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you all. Be sure to get a copy of the contents of that mushroom object to the left of the stage.
And one good parting comment about it would be great for studying literature and looking through characters there. Yeah. Thank you all again very much.